them to immigrate with the excuse of relocation. But under what conditions they were sent to exile to the Syrian deserts? This resulted in 1.5 million martyrs for our nation.
Al di là dei numeri, perché degli armeni morirono.
It is a truth that Armenians who could not endure till Syria died. However, this was definitely not a planned action of the government to exterminate an ethnic group. That is, the idea that Armenians had been subject to genocide is an historical intrigue, a lie.
Storico ed è un falso intrinseco.
You say that 1.5 million Armenians were killed, that they were massacred. There must be a place where at least 10 or 20 of these people lie. That is, if they were killed, there must be a grave. Please come and show us the place. We will dig there too.
Nurse Tatiana Karameli, a student of the Moscow Medicine School, who served at the Russian Red Cross during the period of 1917 to 18, recounted in her memoirs the atrocities of Armenians.
I arrived at Bayburt on August 8, 1917. What I saw was terrifying. Armenians under Russian administration were committing horrifying wild atrocities against Turks in Bayburt and Izmir. The rebels named Arshak and Antranik slaughtered the children in the orphanage I worked at with their daggers. They raped young girls and women. They took away 150 children with them while they were withdrawing from Bayburt and killed most of them while they were still on the way.
Bir kadına da kaç tane çocuk olmuş. Onu da alıp eline.
A woman had a child after years of trying. The enemy man grabbed the baby from her hands, held him from the head and threw him to the ceiling. Pieces of the baby's brain got stuck on the ceiling. People like you came from various places and looked at the baby's brain on the ceiling. They looked at the blood, they took notes, and they left.
O vakit Ermeni mezalimi zamanında 19 yaşında vardım.
I was 19 during the period of Armenian atrocities, 18 or 19. The Armenians had established an organization. An Armenian general named Antranik led them. They started atrocities in the villages, at Ilıca, Alaca, Ambur Mahanda, Tepeköy and Dutru. There was not one evil they did not do there. In Erzurum, they massacred 6,000 or 7,000 people. They imprisoned them in huts. They tied a quilt on a water buffalo, and then they poured gasoline on the quilt and put the animal on fire. They closed the water buffalo in a hut. The water buffalo went wild and killed the people around by striking them. They were subjected to innumerable tortures. It makes a man go out of his mind remembering.
Gaziantep was an important city in southeastern Turkey. Armenians and Turks lived there together in peace for long years until 1918. Then massacres started, with firstly the British invasion and then the French invasion. 7,000 Turks, including children, were killed. The city turned into ruins, and bullet marks can still be seen today. The inhabitants of Gaziantep still mourn their losses. This is the memorial of Shahin Bey, who was killed with his friends while fighting against Armenians.
In Saim Bailey and in many places, they slaughtered children like animals. They were inhumane enough to boil little babies in hot water and offer them as food to their parents. Savageness. Raping and killing girls and women. crucifying the notables of the settlement, and by skinning a bit more of them every day, letting them die from hunger and thirst.
Adana, Kilik ve bütün o bölge Fransızların eline geçiyor.
Adana in the Silesian region was entirely taken over by the French. Because the armed forces of the French were not large in number, they brought in northern African soldiers and Armenian legionnaires. The leader of this gang was the murderer of thousands of Muslims, the Black Antranik. His men came to Silesia and protected him. The Frenchmen gave them guns to do military service. What did they do? They took the guns and attacked the Turkish villages out of vengeance. They were hanging and slaying people. They killed women and children with no exception.
Zavallı kadınlar, çocuk demeden öldürüyor.
On January 18, 2001, the French Parliament passed an Armenian genocide resolution. They clearly turned a blind eye to the documents in the French General Command archives pertaining to the invasion of eastern and southern Anatolia during the period of 1914 to 1921. France, which made Armenians fight for France in the past, seems to forget the Armenian terrorists who attacked the Orly airport on July 15, 1983, and the Turkish embassy in Paris on the 24th of April, 1981, harming dozens of people. Has France felt responsibility towards history while accepting the Armenian genocide resolution?
La France, mais alors, vous nous donnez un pouvoir assez exceptionnel.
France recognizes the genocide in terms of legislation. She is right to do that. France has done that. However, as you know very well, that there have been no convictions made.
Aujourd'hui, il n'y a aucune condamnation, et vous le savez.
While the French Prime Minister says there is no judgment made against Turkey, an Armenian from Turkey gives the best answer to him.
Is it the resolution of the French Senate? Is it the resolution of the American Senate? Who is to give the prescription? Who is our doctor? The Armenians are the doctors of the Turks are the doctors of the Armenians. Other than that, there is no doctor, there is no medicine. I believe no one would benefit from twisting history. For that reason, I was not in favor of the passage of such a resolution. It is not the law that writes history. A law cannot judge history. We cannot judge. This is not a judgment.
It is abnormal to judge a situation between two non-French communities in the French Parliament.
Armenians and the French seem to forget the black pages of history they have made in Anatolia. Tens of thousands of documents are available in the Turkish archives proving the opposite of what Armenians and the French claim.
If the Turkish government officially recognized what happened in 1915 and gave a chance to all scientists, if the archives that have been closed and cannot be approached for examination were examined fairly, everything would be clear. This way, both sides would get what they would like in a fair way. It is not true that Turks hinder or forbid visits to the archives. I went to Istanbul, visited the archives. It is true that I had some difficulties, but I have these kinds of difficulties in Italy as well.
Turkish archives have always been open to everyone. Here are researchers from Japan, Georgia, and Kuwait who are working freely without any prevention.
Once I have applied, I can look at the catalogue immediately. And then once I have permission, I can look at the archives 2 or 3 days later. I can do my research easily.
araştırma yapabilirim.